Since the FCC voted to roll back Title II net neutrality regulations, they've since received nearly 3 million comments, most of which are overwhelmingly in support of net neutrality. They don't want the FCC to change the internet. They like the current rules, where net neutrality is the law of the land and the internet is free and open. And most people in the country support keeping the internet free and open and support net neutrality. In fact, a poll by Morning Consult found that 61% either strongly or somewhat support net neutrality rules, while 18% either strongly or somewhat oppose them. Another 21% either did not know or had no opinion. So the takeaway, in my opinion, is that if you know what net neutrality is, then you are strongly inclined to support it, because if you roll back net neutrality, then that will benefit nobody except Comcast, Verizon, AT&T, and internet service providers, who can rip us off more now once net neutrality is killed. Now, the thing is that a lot of people don't actually know what net neutrality is, and I would even posit that the 18% that oppose net neutrality probably don't even know what the hell it is, because Republicans like Donald Trump, they've been very misleading and just outright lie about net neutrality, saying that this is an overreach of power. But Obama isn't the one that signed the net neutrality rules into law. This was the FCC that voted on these rules after hearing millions of comments from the public. But the people who aren't ambivalent about net neutrality and actually care have submitted comments in support of net neutrality. However, out of the millions of comments recently submitted, there are clearly a substantial portion, thousands of which, that are just completely fake. Now, one of my viewers named Anissa submitted 2 comments to the FCC. The first one was submitted on May 13th, and she strongly encouraged the FCC to support net neutrality. She then submitted a second comment in the same month, also explaining unequivocally how she does not approve of FCC chairman's agenda. So with these 2 comments, we know where Anissa stands. She supports net neutrality, and she is vehemently opposed to Ajit Pat's corporate agenda. But yet, on May 11th, curiously enough, Anissa realized that a phony comment was submitted on her behalf using a fake address, and this comment is against net neutrality. Now, it states the unprecedented regulatory power of the Obama administration imposed on the internet is smothering innovation, damaging the American economy, and obstructing job creation. I urge the Federal Communications Commission to end the bureaucratic regulatory overreach of the internet known as Title II and restore the bipartisan, light-touch regulatory consensus that enabled the internet to flourish for more than 20 years. The plan currently under consideration at the FCC to repeal Obama's Title II power grab is a positive step forward and will help to promote a truly free and open internet for everyone. Now, let me be clear. This is not Anissa's opinion. This is a comment filled with lies and talking points straight from the telecommunications industry. Keeping the internet free and open is the way it's been for 20 years. There was no change in 2015. The only change was to vote to solidify net neutrality and making it a utility regulated under Title II of the Communications Act of 1934, made net neutrality the law of the land forever. But since we see fake comments like this, which some refer to as Comcastroturf, many people are inclined to believe that internet service providers like Comcast or Verizon are actually behind this phenomenon because, this comment includes their talking points. Now, unfortunately, Anissa isn't the only person whose identity is being used to support the agenda of the likes of Comcast and Verizon and AT&T. So, wrestling superstar John Cena apparently filed one comment on May 9th and 12 more on May 11th, and conspicuously, it includes the exact same language used in Anissa's false complaint, word for word. Now, note that most of these complaints filed under John Cena's name were filed on May 11th, which is the same day a false complaint was filed under Anissa's name. Now, additionally, using the same exact wording and date, Barack Obama filed an anti-net neutrality comment, allegedly, where he lambasted the regulatory overreach of his own administration. That's hilarious. Also on May 8th, former FCC Chairman Tom Wheeler had a complaint filed on his behalf when he voted on the rules that Ajit Pat is currently trying to roll back. And another noteworthy mention that had FCC complaints filed on their behalf includes Jesus Christ, using, again, the same talking points. Now, besides celebrities and biblical characters, there's even dead people that have had complaints filed on their behalf, and you guessed it, using talking points straight from internet service providers. So clearly, these comments are fake. There's thousands of them now. We really don't know how much there is, but we can anticipate that there is 1,000 at least, probably more along the lines of 10,000. And what's most likely producing all of these comments are bots. I don't know where they're getting that information, but they're getting people's names and they're filing false complaints on the behalf of people that actually support net neutrality. Now, BBC explains Fight for Future's complaint is signed by 14 people who say their details were used without permission to file anti-net neutrality views. The campaign group says that some of the comments were posted using the names and details of dead people. In their letter to the FCC, the group has called for an investigation into the fake comments and for the regulator to notify all those whose details have been used to post them. Fight for the Future says it has heard from hundreds of people who have found comments posted in their names in favor of revoking net neutrality. So at this point, there's not evidence that directly implicates the likes of Comcast and Verizon. However, the situation is pretty suspicious, seeing that these comments include talking points straight from the industry that Comcast and Verizon give to politicians to then lie and deceive the public with. So the FCC has got to look into this, but they have refused to reply to any comments. BBC asked them for a comment. They didn't get back to them, and they're not taking this seriously. So what they're inevitably going to do is they're going to look at all of our comments and they're going to see, oh, look, there's a bunch of pro-net neutrality comments. They're not going to go through and look at each individual name. They're just simply going to say, oh, this person was for and against it. Check and check. And what this is doing is this is AstroTurf. It's making it seem as though the people are on the side of Verizon and Comcast when that's not the case. We already saw how Anissa cares deeply about this issue. She submitted 2 comments, and then whatever bot that's being employed submitted a comment on her behalf that contradicts what she actually wants. So this is not acceptable, and the FCC must look into this, because during this period, and like any regulatory change, they're supposed to take in comments from the public. And if you allow these comments to go on and not investigate it or even delete them, then you are ensuring that the will of the people will in fact be violated. So this is incredibly troubling, and we've got to get to the bottom of it.
Support this podcast by joining the independent progressive media revolution today at humanistreport.com.